Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Unifara B in the Relationship Advice subreddit. The post is titled, "I wrongly accused my GF of cheating. I don't know how to move forward. Basically, my girlfriend was acting shady. By shady, I mean that she was on her phone a lot, making phone calls, and I saw payments from her card for events and things I wasn't doing with her. I waited it out for a week or two and the weirdness continued. One night, she fell asleep and I went through her phone. I found bookings for a hotel for the weekend in a city far away and tickets for some sporting event that same weekend. I woke her up and shoved the phone at her, demanding an explanation. She looked distraught and said, 'Do you really think I'd do that?' and began to cry. She then told me to look at the bookings properly, and when I did, my heart sank. We rarely get time off together, and she had booked me the weekend off through my boss as a surprise. She had booked a hotel in the city I said I wanted to visit, and it just so happened that my team was playing in that city that weekend, so she'd spent a good amount on tickets. She'd also booked a table at my favorite restaurant. I instantly realized how stupid I'd been, and I can't believe my first thought was that she would betray me when she's given me no reason to distrust her. It's kind of tainted the surprise weekend, and she's so disheartened. I've tried to apologize, but she's just shut off from me and is so hurt by my assumptions. How can I make this better?" To be completely blunt, there isn't much to do in this situation. Anything that comes to mind will likely lead to making the situation even worse. To make matters worse, the way OP actually confronted his girlfriend was terrible. He blatantly shoved her phone in her face, demanding an explanation. The situation may have still turned out badly, but OP definitely should have approached her differently. I think all he can do now is give her some space, and once she's cooled down a bit, move along at whatever pace she sets. However, I wouldn't be surprised if this is something she actually decides to end the relationship over. User The Other Muse said, "She would be in the right to dump you. The people who come to this sub are often very paranoid. If you can't trust your partner, either you have unresolved issues to work on, or you need to have a conversation about what signs you think indicate they are cheating. Communication is key to any lasting and healthy relationship, so brush up on those skills. You need to do some soul searching about why you feel insecure and assume cheating. Ultimately, the ball is in her court regarding whether she still accepts you as a partner. Other than apologizing, you are really at her mercy as she is the wronged party." User Feeling Cute made delete said, "The fact that you went through her bank statements and phone is bad enough, but then you didn't even try to have a calm discussion about it. If I were her, I would be seriously contemplating this relationship, as you seem to be controlling and slipping into abusive behavior. If anyone is shady here, it's the guy who was peeping into private accounts and information. Work on your anger, mate." User Esme Jones said, "By saying she told you to look at the bookings properly, it sounds like if you had taken 2 minutes to think about what you were actually looking at, it would have been clear that it was a bunch of things you liked that she was spending time and money arranging. If that's the case, you really messed up because you snooped through her things instead of asking a direct question about what she had been so busy doing, and you immediately saw your discovery as proof of cheating. You had it in your head that she was guilty and made the evidence fit the alleged crime rather than thinking critically. If you two stay together, don't expect her to ever go out of her way to surprise you with anything nice again." Update. I read your responses and decided to make a big apology to my girlfriend for how I behaved. However, before I got the chance, she arrived at the house. I'll hold my hands up and say that this isn't the first time I've jumped to conclusions. Pretty much since we got together, I've had a habit of winding myself up and then checking her phone and accounts. I know it's wrong, but I always felt that if I found something, I'd be justified, which is so messed up, I know. My ex did cheat on me. Well, she had an affair and left me for another guy. I guess I projected this onto my current girlfriend. My girlfriend has never given me any reason to doubt her and treats me better than I've ever been treated before. She's down to earth, honest, open, funny, kind, beautiful, and she gives me the opportunity to share my thoughts and feelings without judgment. I don't know why I assumed the worst of her. I really don't. To answer a common question, she has an online banking app on her phone and it's the same passcode as her mobile so I could log in. Super messed up, I know. When she arrived at the house, she was calm but sad. She explained that she knew I'd always check her phone and that I'd be off with her anytime she went out with friends. But she always hoped that over time, if she proved herself, I'd let go of my suspicions. When she found out what I had done, it hurt even more because she was trying to do something nice for me. She told me she loves me but finds herself justifying every activity she does and over-explaining herself. She admitted that she experiences real anxiety whenever she's out with friends because she knows I'll be at home imagining scenarios about where she could be. She found herself withdrawing from her friends. She told me we were over, not because she doesn't love me, but because she can't devote her life to someone who only sees the worst in her. She said that I could have just talked to her and she'd have been honest, but that she knows even if she did, I wouldn't believe her unless I could prove it. And she's probably right. I don't know why, but deep down I know I wouldn't fully believe her because, of course, she'd say that right. Anyway, she left me. She packed up her things and went. I know her. She's a strong-minded woman. It really is over, and I've never felt worse. But she's right. I'm not ready to trust someone yet. Even in our last moments together, she gave me the confidence and motivation to get help and be better, even if she won't be there to see the change. I know she loves me, and that fact alone makes it worth changing myself. I'm not going to try to win her back because I can't promise I won't do it again. I'm heartbroken and hurt, but she verbalized everything in such a way that it really hit home. She calmly explained it to me in a way that showed her true love for me. I'm just so sorry for hurting her. Thank you all for sharing your opinions and giving me some hard truths. I appreciate it more than you know. This is it for now. Hopefully this time next year I'll be a new man and able to treat the next woman who loves me the way my ex-girlfriend deserved to be treated. User Cherokee Jew said, "In the end, she helped you. Actions have consequences. There's nothing more vexing than entering a relationship, starting fresh, yet being stuck paying the price for someone else's bad behavior day after day. You're young, live and learn." User Eskim said, "That really sucks for you, man, but honestly, I think she made the right choice too. You seem to have some deep insecurities and trust issues from previous relationships. You should consider getting therapy for those problems and work on yourself so you don't project those insecurities onto others. Good luck, man. I hope it gets better from here." User Tiny Poppy said, "What you did and how she felt are exactly why I left my ex. Just like her, I didn't stop loving him, but I gathered my courage to walk away from an unhealthy relationship. It wasn't easy for me either, having to push away someone I love so much. If anything, I also hope that in parting ways, he becomes a better man. I want that for him. As for you, it seems you have enough self-reflection to possibly make changes to become a better person. It takes time to change and to overcome past issues that you ended up reflecting in your new relationship, but awareness is the first step and action is the next, which is essential. I hope you find it in yourself to truly want to be better. If you really mean it and take action, then that makes all the love she gave you count for something." This next post was made by a user named Challenge Connect in the parenting subreddit. The post is titled, "Husband wants to divorce and start over. Says he can't bond without daughter. Throw away because I want to fix this and I'm paranoid about more people in our lives finding out. It's all so messed up already, I don't want more stress. My husband and I have been married for 5 years. I gave birth to our first child in September, a girl. My husband was present for most of my labor, but things went very pear-shaped and I had to have an emergency C-section. The doctors told him to leave the room and wait outside. In short, he did not see our daughter being born. A week ago, he informed me that he wants a divorce and to start over on his dreams of having a family. He insists that he cannot bond with our daughter and says it's because he didn't see her being born. He talked a lot about how it's always been a dream of his to have a small, close-knit family, and now he can't have that with me because of the C-section and his absence during the birth. His dad suggested therapy, but my husband refused, saying he knew it wouldn't work. I've made sure he knows I'm open to the idea if he changes his mind, but he's been very insistent that he knows this can't be fixed. Part of me knows I'm basically asking for a magic spell here, but does anyone have any ideas on how or if this can be fixed? I'll try to answer any questions anyone may have. Sorry if the flare isn't correct, I just guessed." User Heavenly Spikeman said, "This is the lamest thing I've ever read. I would say he needs to start therapy immediately, but I suspect he is making this story up to mask his real feelings. He is scared and doesn't want to be a dad. He is creating this perfect family dream, either subconsciously or consciously. Seeing a birth is not what creates bonding." User Cupcake Kirby said, "This sounds like a mental health issue. It seems that his bond with the baby isn't living up to what he expected. This honestly has nothing to do with you, your daughter, or the C-section. It's just a convenient thing for him to blame for his feelings. I imagine that even if he had seen her being born, he would have found another excuse for why he isn't feeling the way he expected. A lot of people don't feel a strong bond with their infant, and that's perfectly normal, so I can't fault him for that. But he needs to get therapy if this is how he feels. Leaving and having another child isn't going to solve this for him. I'm sorry this is happening to you, but it's not your fault. If he's not willing to get help, then there's nothing you can do. User Big Blue Hood said, in many countries, men are not generally present at births, but that does not stop them from being good fathers. Whether or not a father sees his baby's birth has absolutely nothing to do with bonding. What's more important is the fact that parenting is not only about dreams and emotions, it's mostly about responsibility. Let's say your husband stays for now. What's to stop him from running away the next time something doesn't go his way? He may or may not be depressed, but he is definitely extremely immature and irresponsible. Seize the moment to pursue full custody and child support. You don't need a person like that shaping your child or burdening her with his preteen-like dramas. Update. I wanted to update and thank everyone who sympathized with me and tried to help. There isn't much new, but some things have happened. I can't link my first post here according to the rules, but these two posts are the only ones this throwaway has, so it should be easy to find. Several people suggested asking him to come with me to a therapist so I can get help understanding why he's leaving. He agreed, and our appointment was yesterday. It didn't go badly, but it didn't go well either. He was very upfront with the therapist. He didn't try to mince words or refuse to answer questions. He told the therapist they got to bond the entire pregnancy. That baby is made of their body. I can't compare to that. My work started at birth and I wasn't there, so I don't feel like I ever got hired, if that makes sense. Yeah, he compared it to not having an employment contract. I get the metaphor, I guess, but I'm not sure how it translates to him not being able to bond. Several people made transphobic comments, and several others asked if maybe my lack of gender was an issue. I assumed no because my husband had known that I'm non-binary since before we started dating, but I did bring it up while we were with the therapist. My husband insists that it has nothing to do with anything. He doesn't care about what I am, but how I did. The therapist was very focused on trying to help me understand, and I appreciate that. No complaints about him. I'm still completely in the dark though, and my husband has started talking about choosing a lawyer. He says he wants a clean break before our daughter gets too attached. Update 2. This is probably going to be long and it isn't a happy update. My other posts can be seen in my post history, but the short of it is that I gave birth to my daughter in September. My STBX husband did not see her birth. Things went very badly and I needed emergency intervention. He was not in the room for the C-section. About a month and a half ago, he informed me that he cannot bond with her because he did not see her being born, and that he wants to divorce so he can start over on his dreams of a close-knit family. We have filed for divorce. I have taken my daughter and moved back in with my parents, who aren't very happy about the divorce but are thrilled to have the chance to nanny her. Life was in stasis for about a week after my last post until my father-in-law asked us to come over for dinner. He informed me that my STBX had asked for his help paying for a lawyer. He agreed with the requirement that we all sit down and have one last talk about the situation. He opened by saying that he thinks getting this over with would be best for me and my daughter, so he's willing to help, but wanted to take one last shot at fixing things. That one last shot ended up being several hours of talking. My father-in-law bluntly demanded that STBX explain his reasoning. STBX repeated the can't bond thing, and FIL asked why. The employment contract analogy was brought up again. After much back and forth, what do you mean by this, why that, FIL just said, I'm not buying this. What's the real reason, STBX? STBX insisted until the end that what he'd been saying all along was his reasoning. He did not see our daughter being born, so he can't bond. He tried, he insisted. The connection isn't there. He was supposed to connect when our daughter was born. There was supposed to be a spark of connection between them, but that spark can only happen right at birth, I guess. In his mind, he can't get it now. Phil asked if STBX thought our daughter wasn't his. STBX insisted he has no doubts that he is her biological father. Phil then asked if STBX was seeing someone else. Was there a woman or another pregnancy somewhere? STBX did not react well to this. He threw his phone down on the table and said that we were free to search it. He's not a scumbag. After that, the conversation turned to post-divorce life. STBX offered up that he'd been running the numbers and would volunteer $50 a month in alimony and $50 a month in child support. He doesn't have to do either, mind you, because we're divorcing and he wants to cut all ties with our daughter, but he wants to be fair. $50 in alimony, whatever. I have a job and a roof over our heads. I don't need it. $50 in child support, that is a lot less than whatever. But I'm refusing to stress about it. The court will handle child support amounts. I'm making myself not be angry and letting them deal with it. I admit I tuned out most of the rest of Fael's attempts to talk sense into his son after that comment. I think that was when the coffin finally nailed itself shut. I started packing when we got home and went to my parents' house the next day. I'm no longer talking to STBX, his lawyer talks to mine. We haven't spoken in almost 3 weeks. I don't think I need to tell you that he hasn't shown any concern for our daughter, but here I am anyway. The day after I got there, my sister kidnapped me to her place. We got very drunk, talked about everything, and I screamed a lot. I got most of it out of my system. After that, we had more drinks and watched terrible horror movies. I woke up the next day with a headache from hell, but otherwise feeling better than I had in a long time. My job can't transfer me, just my luck, but I've been promised a glowing reference, and I'm cashing out what little paid leave I have left to add to my savings. My father-in-law asked after the failed conversation if I would be cutting him off. I assured him that he might not see us as much because of how far away my parents live and not knowing where I'll end up, but he's not getting rid of me or our daughter that easily. He was very happy to hear that. So that's where I am. Papers have been filed, my daughter and I have moved out of the house, and I'm doing my best to ignore my STBX's existence. Thank you all again for listening to me cry and complain over the past couple of months. Final update. I promised an update once things were over, so here I am. My story can be seen in my post history, but the short version is that my ex-husband did not see my daughter's birth and decided that because he wasn't there, he couldn't bond, so he and I are divorcing and he's going to start over. My daughter turned 1 this month. She landed on nod as her first word. I suspect this is because my father-in-law brought home a foster-to-adopt dog a few months back whose previous owners called her Nod or Nodder. My daughter loves this dog to bits. Phil sends me pictures of her every day to show to my daughter. My ex-husband and I are just waiting on some final paperwork for the divorce to be complete. He has not contested anything. He did look the judge in the face and repeat the whole didn't see the birth can't bond thing. His lawyer tried to defend that claim by presenting studies that supposedly said something about damage to bonds when fathers weren't present and actively involved. But my ex was there, active and involved throughout my entire pregnancy, and he was present for my entire labor until things went wrong. It wasn't a case of, oh hey, you knocked someone up 5 years ago, now bond with this kid. My daughter was definitely less than an hour old when he held her for the first time. Probably less than half an hour. I had proof for this claim too. Among other things, I had pictures of the two of us at multiple prenatal appointments. Phil was also willing to file a statement discussing how my ex and he were involved in my pregnancy. Needless to say, the judge was not impressed with my ex's lawyer's arguments. He tried to push my ex for therapy and made comments about how my ex would regret this later. My ex stood stubbornly by his "I need to start over" line. He has visitation per the paperwork. Care to guess if he's used it? He also has to pay child support. If you've read my post history, you might remember that he offered me a whopping $50 a month. That's all he's been paying despite the judge ordering a lot more. So that's a fight I'm going to have to steel myself for. I'm surprised he started skimping out before the divorce was even final, but he did tell me and Phil that he's not a scumbag, so in his mind he's probably just trying to stay true to his word or something. He's shown no interest in our daughter. No other children, pregnancies, or potential partners have popped up either. As best as Phil can tell, my ex is single and not showing any interest in dating yet. I don't know how I feel really. It would make more sense if he were cheating. It would be easier to have something solid to point to and say, "Fuck you for making my life fall apart," and then try to move on, but all evidence suggests he honestly thinks he has to do this. I'm in therapy. I found a place about halfway between my parents' home and Files, and I'm still doing freelance work. I would rate myself as okay. My daughter is happy, healthy, and thriving. She will be fine. I plan to never speak to my ex again once this paperwork is done. I just have to wait until I can totally start over myself.